Taking a look at square root inequalities, and just like what we worked with the other inequalities, we know that we're going to have a region for our solution set. And we also know that if we've got a less than or greater than inequality, our boundary line is going to be a solid line. If we've got just a less than, did I say less than or greater than? Back up just a second. If we got a less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, our boundary line is going to be a solid line. And if we just got a simple less than or greater than, we're going to have a dashed line on our boundary because the solution set does not include that. And if we were just to graph these as an equality, we could then use a test point and specifically we're always trying to use 0, 0, y 0, x equals 0, y equal to 0 as our test point. And if it gives us a true statement, we shade towards the origin. If it gives us a false statement, we shade away from the origin. And that's just the nature of graphing inequality statements. So here we got f of x is greater than or equal to 2x plus 1, square root of that, 2x plus 1, and then we also have f of x is less than negative square root of x plus 2, and then minus 4. Now, as far as our domain and such, we know that if we set this 2x plus 1, that we cannot have a negative number there. That means that our domain is going to be at where x has got to be greater than or equal to 1/2. That doesn't necessarily solve our inequality. We also see that we got a vertical shift down in our second function of 4. We've got a horizontal shift in there to the left of 2. But again, and the negative is going to flip that over the x-axis. But that still doesn't satisfy what is the solution set to these inequalities. Now, we're going to use our calculator to do so, and so let's just get with it. All right, well, we're over here on the calculator. I have activated the Inequalities app. I went to App, chose Inequalities. You can do it without that, but let's see. Our first statement, we've got y or f of x is greater than or equal to. So I'm going to highlight this region here. I'm going to hit Enter, and I want to choose the greater than or equal to statement, which is right there. I can see it's going to give me a boundary line of a solid line. And now we're just going to simply graph that inequality, which is the square root, second x squared, square root of 2x plus 1. And let's jump to our graph and see what this looks like. All right, so there we go. We see our solution set is up here in the first quadrant. That plus 1 shifted, gave us a horizontal translation of 1/2 unit to the left, 2x plus 1. And if I had put in 0 for and 0 for x and 0 for 0, we would have then that y would equal, well, we would ask ourselves, is 0 less than, greater than, or equal to the square root of 1, because 2 times 0 would be 0. It would be left with the square root of 1. And of course, 0 is not greater than or equal to the square root of 1, and we shaded away from the origin. Now let's go look at the next inequality statement. I think this time it is a less than, so I need to change my inequality. Again, I highlighted that area. We're going to move this to right there is the less than. I'm going to have a dashed line as my boundary line. And let's see, my inequality statement is negative. Make sure you hit negative, not subtraction. Negative square root of x plus 2. And then we've got a vertical shift of down 4. So we got a reflection in this with that negative before the square root. We got a horizontal translation of 2 to the left. We got a vertical shift going down 4. And before we go look at it, let's see, if I put in 0 for y and 0 for x, I got to ask myself, is 0 less than or equal to negative the square root of 2, and then again, and another minus 4? Is 0 less than that? I don't think so. Let's see what our graph looks like. Oh, 0 is less than that. Yes, 0 is less than that, so that would give us a false statement, and we shade away from the origin. And there we go. There is our solution set to our inequality. Yes, 0 would be greater than all these negative numbers. Pause there for a minute. I wasn't thinking that through clearly. That way I'd be shading away from the origin. All right. Well, cool. Graphing, square root inequalities, letting our calculator do the work, but still don't hesitate to think about it.